it's Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe, and today I'm here to show you what's in my immediate TBR drawer. So why an immediate TBR drawer instead of an TBR card? So as a student who does not have a lot of money to spend on anything but what I need and the occasional travel trip that I've saved up for and books, inevitably, I try and save money wherever I can as I don't have a job at the moment. The fact of the matter is I wanted an immediate TBR card, okay? I wanted a TBR card because I've been seeing them everywhere and they look really, really cool. However, I just couldn't put together the money to buy a card. I just couldn't do it, and I don't have the DIY skills required to make my own. However, I am someone who does not have that many clothes. I'm not that interested in fashion. I like to wash my clothes a lot and wear the same ones over and over again because I am uncreative and don't particularly have a fashion sense. Which means that I had an empty drawer in my chest of drawers where I could put books that I wanted to read next, and I decided instead of having a TBR card I could have a TBR drawer, and I kind of love it. I kind of love sliding it open and pulling out my next read, and I kind of love it so much that I decided to make a video where I talk about my books in my immediate TBR drawer. This is going to be a replacement of August TBR because I am feeling a bit mood readery and I don't really want to commit to a TBR, so this is my way of having one without having to commit. Let's talk about the books. The first few books I have in my immediate TBR drawer are books that I've started reading and then have stopped reading. I am somebody who is a very big mood reader, and sometimes I don't even know what mood I'm in when I start reading a book. So I start reading it and I get like 100 pages in, or I get a good way through, and then I'm like, actually my mood is not for this book, and then I put it back in my TBR drawer. So we've got quite a few of those. The first one is Girl, Woman, Other. I started this one, but at that time I was reading 4 other books at the same time, and I decided that I didn't want to be reading this one while I was reading 4 other books. I want to give it more of my focus and more of my time and more of my attention, so I put it back in the drawer, but it's one of the ones that's going to come out as soon as I'm done with my current reads and can give it more time and dedication because I was liking what I was reading. Next one is Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I'm like 100 pages in. I got a good way in, but my mindset wasn't right when I started to read this book because after reading Six of Crows, what I'm really here for is Jesper, and there's a ship that I'm shipping Jesper with, and I realised that I was getting impatient with the actual plot of the book because I didn't care anymore. I didn't care about the plot, I didn't care about these other characters such as Kaz and Inej and Nina. Well, Nina I like, but I didn't really care about Kaz or Inej or the whole plot of this book that's going on. I just wanted to hear about Jesper's point of view and also how Jesper and my ship update is going. So that's not how I like to read a book. I like to have a ship, but I also like to care about the plot. So I decided to put it down until my love of Jesper has abated marginally from finishing Six of Crows, and then I can focus on the plot and enjoy the plot while also enjoying every moment I get to see Jesper and my ship, which I think is going to be a thing. Then we've got Clockwork Prints by Cassandra Clare, which is another book I started and I was going for it, and then my mood was like, no, I can't read urban fantasy right now, and I switched to reading a thriller and a paranormal romance. So I guess this is paranormal too, kind of, but either which way my mood said no, and it started, and it's back in the TBR drawer. And I've got the 3 buddy reads that I planned for August. I really enjoy buddy reading, and if somebody's like, oh, I've got this book as well, can I buddy read it with you? I will probably say yes, as long as I can just fit in a time, because I love buddy reading with other people. So the first one I've got to show you is Northwest NW by Zadie Smith, and Abby from Abby Mac Reads. She used to booktube. She's now on Instagram, so I'll leave her Instagram down below. She is on a quest to read more books by Black authors and about the Black experience, and she asked me if I wanted to buddy read one with her from the ones that she's recently gotten. I also had Northwest, and we decided that we would read this one together. I have started and not finished a Zadie Smith book before, and I've even met Zadie Smith in person, so it's high time that I read one of Zadie Smith's books for myself. These covers crack me up every single time. Then we have Artemis, Fowl and the Lost Colony. This is the 5th book in the Artemis Fowl series. I've been reading one of these every single month with Gaia Athena, and we are loving this series. So I am excited to read this one in August. It's gonna happen. I'm looking forward to it. This series is on its way to becoming one of my favourite series of all time. That's how fantastic it is. Then we have Sabriel by Garth Nix. This is one I got while I was in Australia in a free little library, and I have heard good things about this from Kaz from Little Book Owl, and it made me want to read this one, and I've heard good things all around the grid. And Mel saw a photo of my TBR wardrobe when I was tidying it up, and she was like, I've got this book as well, I'd like to read it with you if you have time to buddy read this sometime soon. And I was like, yeah, let's read it in August. So we're going to be reading this one together in August, and I'm looking forward to reading with her. We have my Draconathon TBR. So Draconathon is a readathon that's happening in the month of August, and it's hosted by Jade from Jaded Reader and Soleil from Little Reader's Corner. And they've made this brilliant readathon, which is a dragon inspired readathon, but there are two pathways. So if you're someone who has a lot of dragon books and really likes fantasy, you can go the dragon route and read according to dragons featured in novels. There's prompts around that. However, if you're like me and you don't have that many dragon books, or you've read most of your dragon books that you do have, there's also the diversity prompts where they come from is the country or the continent that you read a book from. So for example, if a type of dragon comes from India, you can read a book by an Indian writer or a book set in the continent of Asia, for example. So I'm going the diversity route, and I'm going to read some books set all around the world, or by authors from all around the world more specifically. So the first one I've got here is for the Oceania prompt, and I'm going to be reading Australian poetry. This is edited by John Kinsella, but it has got works from poets of all years in Australia, and it's really big. I don't think I'm going to finish it next month, but I'm going to read a couple of poems. Made sure to be inclusive and got some Indigenous poetry in there as well, which is really important if you're from Australia because there is a large Indigenous community. We've got Paula by Isabel Allende, and this one has been in that drawer for quite a while because I've said I would read it for like 2 months and I haven't read it, so it's there again, and hopefully I'll read it. There's always this one book that people always put on their TBR but don't get to. I'm gonna read it. I know I am. Next up we have Life of Pi by Yann Martel. This one I put on this list mostly just because I recently saw Dom P is here, and she liked it and she had some issues with it, but mostly she reminded me that I did have this one and I need to read it. I won it in a giveaway years ago, so it's been on my TBR for a very long time, and it's high time I read it. I think this is for the Africa prompt. I'm reading Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's Purple Hibiscus. I have read Americana by this author, and I do have this one and Half of a Yellow Sun, so I just want to read another one by her. Half of a Yellow Sun was significantly longer than this one, so I went for the shorter one just because my reading is still pretty slow and steady for my own pace, so I'm taking it easy with the length of books that I choose. Up next I've got The Traveling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Arikawa, and I've heard some good things about this one, I've heard some okay things about this one, but it does sound like it's going to be a lovely book. It was gifted to me from someone at church, and I also really want to read it just because it's one of the books that's on my 2020 TBR, and I need to start working through that list, otherwise 2020 is going to pass me by and I won't have finished my year-long TBR, so about time I start reading some books from that list. And then lastly we've got The Deep Blue Between by Ayesha Haruna Atta, and this one was sent to me by Poppy from Pushkin Press, so thank you for sending this my way. I read the other book that was sent my way by that publisher, and I want to try and read this one next month so that I can also share my opinions, and I think it's going to be a good one. It's young adult, it's set in 2 different countries, so we're in Latin America but we're also in Africa, and I think it's going to be very good. Then we have Bear Town by Frederick Backman on this list. It doesn't fit into any particular category, it's just on my immediate TBR because I do really want to read it soon. I want to get to another Frederick Backman. I've read one that's on my shelf and I really loved it. My grandmother asked me to tell you she's not sorry, and I've heard this one is going to break my heart to pieces, and it's also going to get a TV series, so about time I read it. I'm pretty sure it's a TV series, or maybe it's just coming to HBO, which I think is a TV series place, right? Okay, last but not least we have short novels, and that is because I have a secret project that I'm going to try and do in August, and I don't know how it's going to go, but I hope it's going to be a lot of fun and I hope I can do it. So we've got some short books that I'm going to breeze through for this secret project, and you'll hear more about it next month. The first 3 I've got to show you, I've recently shown you my Afrofuturism haul. I'm going to be reading for my dissertation in the coming months, so it makes sense that you'll see these books again, so I won't go into too much detail. But we've got Binti by Nnedi Okorafor, we've got The Black God's Drum by P. Jelly Clark, and then we've also got Riot Baby by Tochi Onyebuchi. So those three are ones I've already talked about and I'm going to be reading for that secret project. Then we've also got Forgive Me, Leonard Peacock, which is by Matthew Quick. I honestly can't remember what this book is about, but do know that I loved Silver Linings Playbook by Matthew Quick so much that I have complete faith that I'm going to enjoy this book regardless of not knowing what it's about, and I think it's going to surprise me for the better. It's just been a while since I hauled it in, and that happens when you have books on your TBR for way too long. Then we have The Man Called Thursday by G.K. Chesterton. I've already talked about how much I enjoy G.K. Chesterton's murder mysteries, and I'm looking forward to reading something that's not the Father Brown stories and seeing if I still like his writing outside of that. Next up we have Burn for Burn by Jenny Han and Siobhan Vivian. This is co-written by two authors and I've never read anything by either which author, but I've had this again on my TBR since I was a young teenager, so younger me bought this. Don't know what it's about. It's time I read some of the older books on my TBR because I'm trying to conquer that pile. Up next I've got This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay. I have read snippets of this in my creative writing class and I absolutely loved what I read, so I am looking forward to finally reading the whole thing for myself. The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. This is one film that I avoided like the plague because I wanted to read the book first, and all these years later, have I read the book? No, I have not, so it's time I read the book and then I can watch the film. The Possession of Mr. Cave by Matt Haig. I have liked the Matt Haig books I have read so far, but I've only read one of his fiction books so far, so I need to read another one of his fiction books, and this is going to be the next one. And last but not least, we have Four by Veronica Roth. I read Divergent many years ago. I even read Divergent back before it was very famous and very popular. I remember waiting for Allegiant to release. So that's how long ago I read the series. I was waiting for Allegiant to come out. And I read Allegiant as soon as it came out. And all these years later, I have not read Four, which is a short story collection. So I don't know how much I remember, I don't know how much I'm going to enjoy this collection after all these years, but it's one that's been fermenting on my TBR, so it's about time I get to it, isn't it? And see how I feel jumping back into this world and back into these characters. Yeah, that's everything that's in my TBR drawer. It is fluctuating. I take things out as I read them. I take things out as I decide I'm going to put new things in. But for the time being, this is what's on my immediate TBR. Is there anything I need to bump up and get to as soon as possible? Please let me know in the comment section down below. And tell me, what book are you planning on reading next? Or if you don't know, how do you decide on what you're going to read next? Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more. And don't forget, hit that notification bell to be updated every time I have a new video. And you know what they say, onwards and upwards. Excelsior!